Moments that change everything are usually apocalyptic, like a volcano exploding or a tidal wave. Who knew that my moment of truth would be a walk across an empty Walmart parking lot in the high plains of western Nebraska? Okay, sounds good. I know not all religions cause harm, but I was raised in a religion that caused me a lot of personal harm. And in my religion, women were expected to be three things: heterosexual, childbearing, and acquiesce to men in all decisions. And I lived that role flawlessly. In doing so, most decisions were replaced by expectations. And I kept those expectations my whole life until I realized I didn't want those same expectations for my three daughters. And so I realized I was going to have to start making decisions for myself, including the small decisions like what I wore and what I drank and what I read. And so I chose the most vile and evil of all things to start by drinking coffee. Because coffee was so taboo in my religion, I had to start my coffee quest in secret in my own home. And so for Mother's Day, I started to gather all my materials and my ingredients that I've been secretly purchasing online. And I ground my coffee beans in my coffee grinder, and I heated my water in my electric kettle, but not quite to a boil. And I checked the 8 open tabs on Google to make sure that I was using my French press correctly. I poured the coffee into a beautiful coral and gold mug that fit perfectly in my hands and took a heavenly first sip, and warmth covered the inside of my soul. I exhaled and realized I'd been holding that breath for decades. And in exhaling, I felt like I was coming home to myself. I got good at making coffee. My morning ritual became a sacred but secret ritual. And with every coffee cup, though, it was easy to be rebellious in the secrecy of my own home. But with every coffee cup, I was nurturing the baby courage that was growing inside of me until my moment of truth. And all of that baby courage that I had been nourishing was called into question. Was it gonna really make a difference? I was in my coffee temple, AKA my kitchen, but this time I was making dinner for my daughters and then husband, and I realized I was missing something, so I had to run to Walmart, get what I needed, and run back home and finish dinner really quickly. But I realized I was wearing a tank top. My pornographic shoulders were showing. I didn't have time to change. I didn't want to change. I liked showing my shoulders. I just wasn't allowed to, and so I was scared to. And I knew when I went to Walmart in that small town, someone from my church would see, and eventually my bishop would find out. And the problem with that was that 2 weeks prior, he had instructed me, commanded me, to not read anything that wasn't authored or published by the Mormon conglomerate. And I knew that my exposed shoulders would tell of my blatant rebellion. My private rebellion would become quite public. But I was in a hurry, and I went anyway. And when I went to Walmart, for some reason, I parked at the back of the parking lot, and I sat there, unmoving, safe in my big metal vehicle. And I looked out around me at the beautiful western Nebraska Golden Plains and the wide open, almost electric blue sky. I was petrified. But I could feel the potential of that moment. I could feel the potential of the space and of me. And so I got out of my car, I slammed the heavy door shut, and immediately I felt very small and very vulnerable. The parking lot was naked and dirty. I felt naked and dirty. I took a deep breath in, exhaled all of those expectations and started my personal trek across the parking lot. I knew it was my moment of truth. Now, I blacked out. I have no idea what happened the rest of the trip. I know I finished it. I know that it changed something inside of me, but I didn't realize how monumental it was until a few years later when we moved to Oklahoma and my 5-year-old was asking to be baptized into the then left church. And I was explaining to her she couldn't be unless she got permission from a man and he would have to do it. And that set her little 5-year-old heart full of anger. And that was the moment that I knew one of my daughters refused to let a man make a decision for her. One of my daughters was growing confident in her homosexuality, and one of my daughters was very vocal that she never wanted children. All 3 of my daughters had characteristics that just a few years prior, they and myself would not have been allowed to possess. And that made every agonizing step across that empty, dirty Walmart parking lot absolutely worth it.